My 25 female boyfriend, 26 male, isn't attracted to me because I'm too masculine. I've been in a romantic relationship with someone for about a year, and we've become personally close. He's my best friend. I have an intense romantic, platonic and sexual attraction to him. As it often goes, when it started out he couldn't get enough of me sexually. I have an hourglass figure he likes. I'm fairly attractive in my physical features. Our bond also quickly became strong and we love spending time together. But over time his sexual desire for me waned and it tore me up trying to discern what could be causing it. My first clue was when he admitted in frustration that he thought my thick southern accent and somewhat deep voice made me sound masculine, and it's very unattractive to him. Then it came out lately that I always do things like a guy would. I sit like a guy would. I talk like a guy would, etc. I question what that even means. I was brought up with a mother who was also not feminine, and with my dad and brother. I never learned how to be much toward the feminine, and I'm at the point where I don't care to either. I always thought of myself as more gender neutral in my demeanor, presentation though. But any attempt I make to be more feminine is met with no change. I'll wear feminine clothes sometimes, I'll wear lingerie for him when we spend the night together. I guess he still sees the masculinity within? He gets turned on by random presentations of femininity he sees online, not necessarily porn, but never by me, and it hurts. He tells himself now that sex isn't important, even though it is to me, and it hurts trying to get it from someone who doesn't particularly have desire for me, and would rather be with me anyway because he doesn't want to lose our relationship. And I try to tell him that it will be important to him later if he stays with me long term, because it is to every person who experiences sexuality. In my experience, romantic love strengthens sexual attraction. Desire comes with the love. It certainly did with me toward him. Is that not common? Everything he does turns me on. He can just look at me a certain way, or say something in a certain tone of voice, or just stretch his body, and my breath hitches. Another bit of context is that I'm his first sexual experience in serious relationship. He threw out there on our last phone call that it was a possibility he doesn't yet know exactly what he likes on a person who's actually in front of him. Should I even wait around to find out at this point? He ain't the one, sis. It'll be a tough break-up, but when you've moved on and are in a sexually compatible relationship, you'll be significant other much happier. You really deserve someone who loves you for you. I'm sorry this is happening. As a guy, I still find tomboy girls attractive and, at least in my experience, you can find the femininity in a woman if you have the right masculine energy. To me it sounds like possibly a combination of a couple things. He's insecure about his own masculinity or he's just not that into you, but he cares about your feelings too much to tell you that outright. He's already told you your voice is unattractive to him. I don't think it stops there. If he was attracted to you initially and you haven't changed, there's something you don't know. If not you, then something has changed with him. Your next step is finding out what. Girl, sex does get better when a man is 100% attracted to you. Dump him. I am so sorry. My heart was breaking as I read your post. Firstly, my perspective on relationships is to have a companion and helpmeet in life. Someone who adds to your life and gives it a sense of fulfillment. You don't sound very happy or fulfilled with him right now. Secondly, we shouldn't need to change for our partners to be attracted to us. However, to keep that romance alive in my relationship, I do girly things, intentionally because I'm not naturally feminine, to keep my mom's eyes on me. Fully decking out for a date night or even just wearing high heels at home for 5 minutes and, drop something. Bend and snap. Please watch Legally Blonde if you don't get the reference. So you're his first sexual relationship, wearing lingerie around him, and he still thinks you're too masculine? He might be gay, to be honest. I, 21F, have thought I was infertile since I was 15. Yesterday I found out I am 28 weeks pregnant. Hi everyone. I am honestly in complete shock right now, and I truly have no clue how to handle this, but I'll try my best to keep it short. I was diagnosed with PCOS at a young age, and have had many surgeries to remove cysts. I've had doctors tell me repeatedly that I don't regularly ovulate, and that due to the extensive injuries I've succumbed to from past surgeries, reproduction was simply not likely in my future. This never upset me though, as I suffer from a lot of mental illness and don't think I would be a fit parent. In December of 2020, I started hanging out with this guy, T 20M. T had enlisted in the Navy right when I met him, so he made it clear we couldn't date. We slept with each other on a regular basis, and soon became really close friends. It didn't take long to catch feelings for each other, but he always kept a minimal distance because he was leaving. He was sent to boot camp April 29. We stayed close at first, and I put in a great deal of effort to maintain our friendship. The longer it went on though, he started losing interest in me and began partying and sleeping with the other Navy girls. We agreed to remain friends, but he's made a few poor decisions in the last month that rubbed me the wrong way and we've been distant since. Yesterday, I decided to go to the ER because I thought I had a really bad cyst. I had been experiencing cramps for about 2 months now, my lower abdomen had started to bloat, and I was having regular nausea. These are all normal symptoms of PCOS, so I thought nothing of it. I got an ultrasound done, and lo and behold, there's a whole ass-fucking baby in me. I don't even look pregnant, just kinda chubby. I immediately started researching adoption options since I can't abort it, but when I told T, he was pretty adamant on keeping the kid. I feel like I have a moral obligation to help him raise the child since it was both of our fuck up. I also do not have the finances to support a life, but T comes from a wealthy family and gets fantastic benefits from the Navy. I should also mention that in the past 7 months of my unaware pregnancy, I've smoked weed regularly, gotten drunk on multiple occasions, done acid twice, and a little bit of coke once. T is aware of all of this. Please give me any meaningful advice you may have. I'm desperate for direction. You need to get to an OB/GYN and get testing done to get as much information on the health of the baby as possible. If you are open to having the child and giving up your rights as a parent, that is nothing to be ashamed of. Children are a tremendous responsibility, and it is important that if you decide to have it, you understand that your presence would need to be a full commitment or none at all for the well-being of the child. There's really no advice to offer other than get as much information as you can and go with what feels right. I know significant other many women with PCOS who have had multiple natural pregnancies. One of the biggest misconceptions is that it means infertility. That sometimes happens, but it doesn't mean you should just live as if you are infertile. It's just one likelihood. Please seek some counseling as well as seeing a OB/GYN as soon as you can. You have a lot of big decisions to make, and you need to find what you need to do, without being influenced by others. If you don't want to have the baby, but the father does, you have options, and you should try to find some professionals to speak through your options with you soon. Have you told your doctor about your drinking, weed use, etc.? Because you should do that. I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what you should do in this case. All I can say is that you don't have a moral obligation to raise this child with him. The child will be better off with parents that actually wants them. Whether that be T and his family alone, or you give it up for adoption. I immediately started researching adoption options since I can't abort it, but when I told T, he was pretty adamant on keeping the kid. Just wanted to point out, if T isn't agreeing with adoption, then you legally cannot give the child up for adoption. Your options are to raise your kid and co-parent or sign over parental rights to T so he can raise the child. This is a rollercoaster of emotions and a tough dilemma. What I would say is reflect on what you would regret more, changing your plans to raise this baby, or not being a parent to this child? This is so heavy and a lot to consider. Good luck, op. I think you need to decide if you want to be a part of this child's life. If not, then offer T that he raise the child himself and you sign off on parental rights or pay child support. I don't think it's fair to head for adoption when the baby's dad clearly wants the child, unless there is a serious concern for his commitment to actually raising the child. Just sayin', as a sailor, T ain't going to be home. They say haze gray and underway for a reason. My last year in the Navy I spent 60 days on land, not including duty days. So prepare to be a single parent. I would have a serious talk with his now. This is a lifelong commitment to this child and will forever bond you to this man. Definitely go see a gyno and don't feel pressured to raise a kid you don't want. If he wants it, fine. You're not obligated, to take care of it. I do think you were reckless in your decisions just because of the lower probability of pregnancy, but adoption is also a good option. You can always pay child support too, sign away your maternal rights, etc. Woman shrugging, medium skin tone. Keep your options open though, because at the end of the day, it's your body and your life. I'm adopted. Please consider adoption and a lot of vetting for the adoptive parents. Thank you. I want to give my wife, 22F, a second chance, but I, 22M, just don't want to get hurt again. So me and my wife met when we were in school, and it was one of those typical relationships where we start dating and eventually one of us break up with the other, which did happen, but we eventually got back together. A few years after leaving school, one of my friends got married and he told me that me and my girlfriend should get married. It took a lot of thinking, but eventually I asked my girlfriend to marry me and she said yes. At this point, me and my girlfriend had jobs and had our own place, but we were having problems with our relationship. We were arguing. Our jobs were getting in the way of our relationship. Our sex life also became affected too, but we would always resolve our problems. Anyway, our wedding was the happiest day of our lives and it's something we will never forget. After our wedding, our normal lives continued and we started planning having a baby and our parents were happy for us, but months after our wedding I started noticing my wife always on her phone and smiling at something on it. I started having these horrible feelings that my wife might be seeing someone else, and just a week or so ago them feelings became true when I saw a bunch of messages exchanged between her and some other man. When I confronted her about it, it became a huge fight between us and she admitted to seeing another man behind my back, and she tried apologizing, saying sorry and saying it won't happen again and that we should go to marriage counseling, but I didn't want to hear it and told her I want a divorce and for her to get her stuff and leave my house. Which she did, but since separating, she keeps asking me to go marriage counseling and to please take her back. And today we met up and we got to talking and she told me she would do anything to fix us and begged me to give her another chance. I told her I would, but she needs to prove that I can trust her again. I also told her about my friend moving into my house and she was cool with it. I'm struggling to trust her, but I want to because I miss her and need her in my life. How can I trust her after what she did? Or should I just keep going with the divorce and move on? You're 22. She cheated on you once. Can people change? Sure. Do they? Not often. I'd move on. She made you her second choice to some stranger. You deserve better. Divorce and move on. She'll do it again. You guys are young, don't waste your time on a cheater. This happened before. You had problems in your relationship and she made a huge commitment, marriage, which is basically her pledging to be monogamous with you. She made this promise in front of friends and family, I would assume. Now, you're again having problems in your relationship and she's promising, again, to commit to you and be monogamous. This time it's going to be in front of a random therapist and not her friends and family. Do you really see this ending any differently? People who break promises and then try to manipulate your emotions like this is indicative of someone who has not learned their lesson. You say you can't live without her, but that will pass. Can you really live with falling in love again and getting cheated on by her for a second time? Once a cheater, always a cheater. You're young, I'd say just move on. If you can't fully move past it, then it will just continue to build resentment in you and cause issues. Better to rip the band-aid off now. Married at 21. What the fuck do you expect? What did I just read? This sounds like one stupid decision after another. You decided to get married because someone suggested it? Really? Now she cheated as well. You're too young for this. You got married for all the wrong reasons, which is why it fell apart so quickly. She has cheated that quickly. She probably cheated beforehand too, and guess what, she'll do it again and has probably slept with someone since the separation. My 30F husband, 30M, and in-laws seem to forget that I'm a person and not an incubator. I'm currently pregnant with our first child and my in-laws' first grandchild. Everyone seems to have an opinion on how I'm handling my pregnancy, and I understand they're just excited, but it's starting to feel like they've stopped seeing me as a person and think I'm just this golden incubator. I'm pretty much not allowed to do anything except for rest without everyone overreacting. Once I was craving something my family used to cook, so I went to make it, and when my husband saw me, he freaked out and asked me why I didn't ask our cook to make it and insisted I go lay down again. That's another thing, we now have a cook and a cleaner because he doesn't want me to worry about anything but also wants to make sure I'm eating as healthy as possible. Another time we went on vacation with my in-laws, and when I went to get some of our luggage, they all freaked out and were acting like I would break if I just carried one bag. My mother-in-law is constantly forcing me to eat and drink things that are supposed to be good for the baby, and whenever I say no, she makes me feel guilty until I take it. Also, I've lost count of how many times I've been recommended not to eat something because they don't think it's good for the baby. Sometimes they'll talk about me, the baby, like I'm not even there. They have mine and my child's entire future planned out and don't seem to realize I might actually not agree with some of their ideas. When I suggest we do certain things, they say things like, "I'm not sure that's good for the baby." I know they're not doing any of this to be malicious and they're just really excited about the baby, but it's making me feel horrible. I have a good relationship with my in-laws outside of this, and my relationship with my husband has been fantastic, so I would like to find a way to get them to stop, without hurting their feelings. Any advice on how to achieve this? Too long did not read. Husband and in-laws have too much input into how I handle my pregnancy and seem to forget that I'm still a person and not just an incubator. Have you tried standing up for yourself and putting your foot down? Tell your husband to fire the cook, you can cook for yourself. If you want. Tell your family you can carry a bag just fine. Tell them you'll eat what you want. You obviously have done research on what you shouldn't be eating and you will make choices you feel is right. If you don't stand up for yourself, people usually want to stand up for you, especially when you're in a position that makes you vulnerable, aka pregnancy. I wouldn't hold it against them for trying to help, but I think this is in big part your fault for not setting boundaries. Are you South Asian? In India, in some households the would-be mother will be treated exactly like this. This is a good time to start practicing for when you give birth. Advocate for yourself. Give yourself permission to say, no, and be firm. Thank them for their input but say, no. Only you can listen to your body and what it needs. Including during the birth. You need to learn to speak up. Once you do it the first couple times it gets easier. Resting is actually bad for the pregnancy. I just had me first and started swimming and trekking during the pregnancy as recommended by my obgyn. No, is a complete sentence. You have got to be stronger than feeling so guilty you take it. The moment you truly stop taking it is the moment they realize they fucked up. Just be a broken record, it's your child and your plans. You are strong, and once they see you empowered they can't neglect you anymore. I mean, unless you stand up for yourself and stick to it, nothing is going to magically change. I saw this movie. It's Rosemary's Baby.